No polls, no pundits, just vibes. I'm Brian Derrick.
I'm Glennis Mahar, and the vibes this week.
We do have a bipartisan deal. We're finishing the text right now. The question is whether Republicans are going to listen to Donald Trump, who wants to preserve chaos at the border because he thinks that it's a winning political issue for him, or whether we are going to pass legislation.
And Nikki Haley has been popping off.
Trump was totally unhinged. He threw a temper tantrum out on stage, seriously.
We'll talk a little bit more about her sudden willingness to go after Trump and how it's going to sound when she eventually bends the knee.
And
everyone's getting in on the Super Bowl Swift mania. Right-wing dinguses are claiming this whole thing is a conspiracy, suggesting that the Super Bowl will be rigged for the Chiefs to set the stage for Taylor Swift's Biden endorsement.
Then we'll play a little music-themed round of It's Giving, bring you into our group chat, and leave you with a good vibe. Let's go.
Brian, my vibe this week is one, I have a cold, and two, I have not been up on the news. I have not been as terminally online as I usually am. And I did see your Instagram story this week.
That's all you need.
Going off about the border immigration deal and how Republicans are going back on many things they wanted. Can you give me a deeper dive here, please?
Absolutely. I would love nothing more. So we've seen some egregious behavior out of Congress in the last few years, and we like to talk about it. But this one really, you already know what I'm going to say, chaps my ass. This one really gets me going. And it is because we hear nonstop from Republicans, the border is a problem, the border. Joe should go down there. Kamala should go down there. Everyone should live on the border. And now suddenly when Democrats and Republicans come to the table and negotiate a deal, those very same people went running for the hills and want nothing to do with it. And so that's what's happening. Exactly.
Didn't Joe Biden say on Friday, we need to close the border, or something to that nature of we have a serious issue at the border. We need to act quickly.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly.
And now Republicans are like, wait, let's not.
Yeah, I think that regardless of where you stand on the issue, there is broad acknowledgement that some kind of action needs to be taken, that what's happening right now isn't really working. It's not working for migrants, people seeking asylum. It's not working for law enforcement on the border. It's not working for the economics of it right now and where immigrants are landing and how they're being set up for success or lack thereof.
Totally.
It's not working. And so there needs to be a solution. And Democrats showed a willingness to come to the table and make a deal. And so that's what's been being hammered out for a number of weeks, really months. And as the deal started to take shape, keep in mind, we have not actually seen a bill. There is no legislative text released, so I can't even say what is or is not included exactly. It's all kind of like hearsay and whisper campaigns as to what's in it. Republicans are already saying it's DOA. It's dead on arrival. They will not vote for it. And that is because politics. Donald J. Trump. Trump loves to talk about immigration and talk about the border at his rallies and in his ads and attack Joe Biden on it. And they are very, very afraid it would really undercut the Trump campaign and his message in 2024 when we know that immigration as a whole is a huge issue for a lot of voters. And so it's really, again, not shocking. We've seen some crazy stuff out of Congress, but it is infuriating to see people behaving so selfishly and with such open, flagrant, power-hungry nonsense. It's maddening.
And disregard for human life. At the core of this is people who are fleeing violence, climate change, collapses of government. And these are people with families and lives, and they're trying to do what they view as best for them. And to have, we know that the system and acknowledge the system as it's currently set up is not working for anyone, as you mentioned. Right. So to have progress be made or attempted to be made to then be tabled just for political gain, it's really heartbreaking.
And don't just take our word for it. I will read you a direct quote from Senator Lankford, who's one of the lead negotiators on the bill. This is a Republican U.S. senator who represents Oklahoma in the Senate. And he said, and I quote, "And now it's interesting.
A few months later, when we're finally getting to the end, they're like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't want to change in law because it's a presidential election year."
That is what this is all about. And you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ted Cruz who are leading this charge against progress, against a deal, because they see it as a direct threat to their own reelections or to that of Donald Trump, depending on who we're talking about.
It's super sad. It's super frustrating. And it speaks to the nature of the 2024 election cycle and politics as a whole right now, in that the political gain is more valuable than the human life or experience or what the policy actually looks like in real life for Americans and those trying to seek asylum or to immigrate here. But we have another quote from everyone's favorite, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She told CNN, "I just heard Speaker Mike Johnson saying it's absolutely dead, which is what I wanted to hear," as she left the GOP conference meeting this morning. Oh, it continues. "As a matter of fact, he said so clear, I don't know why people keep asking me about it, because as it stands right now, there's no way forward." Get a new job then. Do your job. Figure it out.
Totally. Yeah, and I just want to make clear for people, this is coming from someone, she has not read the text of the bill. Like she does not have access to the actual bill and what it does or doesn't include. This is someone who doesn't want a path forward. This is someone who's not interested in a common sense bipartisan bill that would make progress on the issue and address other urgent crises around the world. She's not interested in that at all. None of them are, really.
None of them are.
And I do want to acknowledge, I know that a lot of people are upset about the deal on the left. A lot of people feel like it's too conservative of a deal that's been put together from what has leaked and what has been sort of surmised to be in it. And I would say if you're going to push for a more progressive solution, like we need way more support and mobilization and messaging around why that's important. Like, let's talk about how America is a nation of immigrants. Let's talk about the way to bring more people in with faster work permitting and all these other solutions that I know are out there.
IDing.
But I think exactly. Right. Like, get people the resources that they need in order to succeed. And I don't think that enough of that is out there right now in order to like push for a more progressive solution to the problem.
I completely agree. And it's something that, you know, as we're looking at the 2024 cycle and why immigration is an issue, I would say all of a sudden, right? I hear friends, we both live in the city of New York. New York City is an asylum city, and there was a lot of political maneuvering happening with certain states, governors, you know, Florida and Texas sending migrants up to New York City. And we saw the reality of that. We see it every day. If you live in New York City, you're seeing migrants every day on the street, whether they're at a reticketing center or, you know, they're doing jobs. And we saw what that crisis looked like. And it became much more of the public discourse when Mayor Eric Adams is going back and forth with the administration, requesting more funding, et cetera. So just by virtue of it being a policy that is now more in front of people, we're seeing how we do need more resourcing and more systems in place to be able to provide these people with opportunities and just basic resourcing.
Yeah. I mean, let me put it this way. If a deal gets done, then we should continue to push for the best deal that we can that really addresses like the root causes of the problem and isn't super reactionary. If a deal does not get done, then Democrats should be attack dogs on this issue for the rest of the year as Republicans try to point and cry wolf at the border when they refuse to pass a bill to do anything about it. Well, someone else has tried to make some lemonade out of these lemons when it comes to the border and honestly, a lot of issues over the last week. And that is Nikki Haley.
Nikki.
I
don't want to talk about her anymore because I truly just don't like talking about any Republicans, even though it is part of my job. But something that I do think is super important that we make note of, because this is something I do in my personal life, and it's called receipts. And I want to know what you're saying,
receipts,
why you're saying it.
Proof, timeline, everything.
Yeah, all of it. And I think it's important that we continue to hold, even though maybe it's delusional because they don't have any sort of moral compass, hold them accountable to what they say and what they do as it relates to Donald Trump and, beyond Donald Trump. So, Brian, let's talk a little bit about how she's been, and I'm using air quotes here, attacking him, because she's just kind of stating the obvious, but that's more than most Republicans are doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving Chihuahua, not exactly German Shepherd over here.
No, actually talk to any vet or any vet tech, and they will tell you a Chihuahua is much more vicious during an ear cleaning than a German Shepherd.
I'm sure that's true. Shout out to the vets. Yeah, this is a clear shift in strategy since New Hampshire, which as we reported to y'all on last time, Nikki Haley did well, but it wasn't enough. She did better than I anticipated, but it wasn't enough to really change up the game. The delegate math is not working. She doesn't have a path to take the nomination from Trump. It's Trump. And so now I think we're seeing a real shift from her in her willingness to sharpen those elbows and throw wait, what?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Throw those bows.
Throw those bows is where we're going. Why do you think that is? What is your theory of the case? Why is Nikki Haley suddenly knives out for Trump?
Well, I don't think that she expects to get the nomination, that's for sure. But I do think she wants to have a firm record against Donald Trump, depending on what ends up happening with him. Regardless, she wants to be on, I'm using air quotes again, the right side of history as it relates to an insurrectionist, anti-American former president.
Right.
But she's building her brand. This is a brand building exercise for Nikki Haley. Anyone who's running in a primary where they're really not going to be the nominee, I kind of view them all as brand building exercises for each candidate. What do you think?
It's also a cash grab. Let's be real. She has 10 fundraisers in the next 2 weeks, many of them in California and New York, hosted by a bunch of billionaires. And this is the anti-Trump crowd who, while
anti-Trump, yet still Republican.
True. Correct. For the most part. There are some sort of wobbly ones in the middle, but this is a cash grab. She's going all in on her moment in the sun because it's just mano a mano with her and Trump in the Republican primary. It's a foregone conclusion, but she can still go raise tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. She's already raised, I think, 10 million or something like that since New Hampshire. She raised 4 million in grassroots donations since New Hampshire, 1 million in the 24 hours after Trump said that he was going to permanently bar from the MAGA camp anyone who gives money to Nikki Haley. And that's all working for her, right? We know that outrage politics work when it comes to fundraising, and she is trying to juice these lemons, baby, because that's all she has left.
Working overtime on that juicer.
She called Trump totally unhinged.
Unhinged.
She stole my line. What?
That is, talk about brand stealing. She also was talking about how she trusted the jury. When it came to the E. Jean Carroll case, she said that she trusted the jury and said that they made their decision based on the evidence, implying that Trump was, in fact, a rapist. And she also has been contrasting herself with him on the border.
And Donald Trump, the last thing he needs to do is tell them to wait to pass a border deal until the election. We can't wait one more day.
And so she is trying to take this middle road approach, but I honestly think that a lot of it is about her billionaire donors, because that's what's keeping her campaign alive at this point. I'll say that.
And her brand and her future after this election. What's next for Nikki Haley?
The last thing that could be happening with Nikki Haley sort of sparring with Trump, other than desperation, I guess, is that she's angling for a third party run. I don't think that that's the most likely scenario. I don't think that she would do that because it would effectively end her Republican career permanently. She wouldn't be able to then run in 28 as the Republican nominee, especially if Trump and her both lose on the ticket in the general. But she is potentially joining this group of people who are running or rumored to be running. I have to say, this past week, Doug Sosnick is this renowned political strategist, prepares these memos that are always kind of prescient, a little bit spooky, a lot of times extremely accurate, not always, but does these like deep dives, and I just wanted to read a segment from his most recent memo, which you can find in Politico. Trump can't win without a third party candidate dividing the anti-Trump vote, period. Again, Trump can't win without a third party candidate dividing the anti-Trump vote. With the exception of winning Georgia in 2016 with 50.77% of the vote, Trump never reached 50% in any of the competitive states that determined the outcome of the last two presidential elections. So that is to say, Trump's only path to victory is by having these third party candidates rack up votes. And so when you're talking to your friends, it's an easy way to be like, just so you know, it's a Trump play. Like, honestly, right. Nikki Haley running, whatever, we don't know who's going to pull votes from who, but we do know that in a 2-person race, Trump has no path to 50% of the country. It doesn't exist. Period. Speaking of things that could swing the entire election.
For sure.
Your girl.
Well, she's okay. I want to be like on the record. I want to be like fair about this. Is I'm a very, very new Swiftie. Like, yes, I exist on planet Earth, so I know a lot of her songs. I hear them and somehow know all the lyrics. And I'm like, what? And recently, my friend made me watch the Eras tour, and I was like, okay, wow. So she has a new boyfriend, which you may know about. His name is Travis Kelce, and he is a football player. And he is going to the Super Bowl because he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. So the New York Times published a story recently that the Biden campaign is seeking a Swift endorsement, which makes sense. She is one of the most powerful people in the world. And what will come as a shock to absolutely no one, conservatives are losing their minds. Not only are they losing their minds, they're coming up with conspiracy theories, and they're not stopping. And they just need, dare I say, to calm down.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers. So I'm relatively new to this whole story. I love the Taylor Swift political crossovers. They've happened before. She's pushed tens of thousands of people to register to vote, which we love. But I think that my understanding is she's gotten progressively more political, not just like civic engagement wise, but like endorsing candidates or speaking out against candidates. I know she's spoken out against Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee.
Yeah, for sure. As her platform has grown, she has understood the responsibility that she carries being such an influential person.
Yeah. So Republicans are losing their minds that she might endorse Biden, which is obviously her right to do so if she so chooses. But I think that we have a supercut of the Fox News hosts freaking out.
We have had enough of Taylor Swift for now.
Why alienate your fans, the Swifties?
I think if she's smart, she will just stay out of politics altogether. I don't know what the incentive is for her to do this. I mean, as Michael Jordan said, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Don't get involved in politics. We don't want to see you there.
Please don't believe everything Taylor Swift says. We're all begging you. I think she should stop short of making an endorsement for Joe Biden or for Donald Trump. I mean, we would love to have it.
Well, that's pretty transparent.
It's like women supporting women, but only when they're doing things they want them to do. Get a grip. Get a grip.
True.
Just weeks ago, the Pentagon had to respond to a conspiracy pushed by Fox News that Taylor Swift was a front for a covert political agenda.
I mean, I like her music. She's all right. But I mean, have you ever wondered why or how she blew up like this? So is Swift a front for a covert political agenda? Primetime obviously has no evidence. If we did, we'd share it. But we're curious because the pop star who endorsed Biden is urging millions of her followers to vote. She's sharing links. And her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, sponsored by Pfizer. So how's the PSYOP going?
Little did we know that the chart-topping singer behind hits such as Cruel Summer.
Oh, actually, name some more. Cruel Summer.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to struggle right away.
All Too Well, the 10-minute version.
Something about When You Walked In or I'm the Problem, It's Me.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
If I Were a Man.
Little did we know that it was a military operation the whole time to sway the election. We're not going to go do any of the more obvious things to influence the election. We're not going to rig it in some way. No, we're going to help a pop star rise to the top of the charts and then use her Instagram to push voter registration links to help Joe Biden. That's the PSYOP. What?
And lest we forget, Taylor Swift started as a country music star. So I don't want to amalgamate all country music fans into one political party, but that argument doesn't really follow.
I think that's why they're so mad. I think that's why this gets under conservative skin so much, is that like they feel like Taylor Swift should be theirs. Is they feel this ownership over country music and country music stars, and it always makes such waves when a country music pop star or whatever doesn't toe the line.
I do just want to take a beat to look at Waters' logic there and how he was leading the audience by saying that we have no evidence at all, but we're curious. Intro I'm using air quotes, facts, and then concluding the argument with how's the PSYOP going. So serving that on a platter to the Fox News audience.
It's a tragedy in 3 acts.
Yeah. Misinformation is abound.
And I think that it also speaks to the sexism of it all. There were some really good. I think that there were.
Wow. Although I do appreciate you said it in that vein.
Groundbreaking news on Vibes Only this week.
Yeah.
Okay. More specifically, I saw some good takes around the Stanley Cup sort of fervor, where people are like going crazy for these Stanley Cup water bottles, and it's like people just love to make fun of young women for liking stuff. That there's like anytime there's like a large fan base, particularly of women that get excited about something, it becomes sort of a cultural punching bag in a way. And that feels like the same thing that's happening here. They're saying like, oh, Taylor Swift fans would do whatever she says, yada, yada, yada.
It belittles them.
Totally. I also want to share a special appreciation for when influential people, including celebrities, are willing to take a riskier position than just saying vote. And so to have someone who is willing to put their paycheck on the line, right? Maybe there are going to be fans who will not go to the next Taylor Swift tour or go see her movie or whatever. And she's fine with that. Obviously, she has lots of other fans in line behind them. But like to say, I'm actually fine with that because I want to live my values. And one of these candidates is against democracy and one of these candidates isn't. I hope that she does do that and come out swinging, because I respect it more than I respect someone who just is going to use their platform to say like, vote. It doesn't matter
vote.
Who. Let's see what happens.
Let's hold hands and vote.
It's
giving. We're having a very musical episode because It's Giving lightning round also includes some musical guests.
I want to put a trigger warning on for the audience because these will hurt your ears. They may make you shudder.
No, it's a Surgeon General's warning.
Literally.
Look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo. My pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a wap. Dog, it's a yarmulke. Homie, no cap. Look at the graphs. Look at my charts. You're blowing money on strippers and cars. You go into prison. I'm on television. Dogs, no one knows who you are.
Literally so lame.
It's giving the Weird Al collection at Urban Outfitters.
It's giving cultural appropriation. For those who, I don't even think we introed that. That was Tom McDonald featuring Ben Shapiro, who is my number one enemy. And what they're trying to do is to make it go number one on Billboard and to like, you know, kind of create a fissure in the culture war and be like, we're better than the left when it comes to culture. You're not.
No,
I assure you, you're not.
It's bleak. No, they think that it's giving Kendrick Lamar, and it's very much giving Napoleon Dynamite. It's giving rhymezone.com.
Yeah, it's giving ChatGPT. Write a offensive rap song where I can feature Ben Shapiro.
Okay, but speaking of offensive to my ears, we had another Republican musical hit this week that you're going to want to brace yourself for.
Now there's a lot of noise in politics, 'cause people hitting each other with their great big sticks. But Nikki Haley stands above the rest. We need you, Nikki, right now.
Ew. It's giving Kids Bop meets Christian rock.
It's giving didn't get the rights to the song.
Didn't get the rights. Literally.
It's giving cease and desist. I kind of feel like it's giving Imagine during the pandemic.
No.
Like,
I mean,
yes, it was that is that level of cringe.
Yeah, it's true.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was bad.
I just want everyone to think about how many people were involved in that project and how much time they spent thinking, no, this is definitely the best thing that we can do right now to help elect Nikki Haley.
If I was Nikki, I would say return to sender. Thank you, but I don't want it. Time for group chat, Brian. I'm excited because this week we have our very first listener submission.
We got a bunch of them, which we love.
But that we're actually talking about on the pod.
100%. So we are actually inviting y'all into the group chat officially. What was the question?
Well, this came in via email from Karen, but she says, not that kind. Love that, Karen. I'm going to read her question. Is it just word vomit for MAGA Trump supporters to continue to say that their main issue for voting for Trump is the economy? The economy is literally better in every aspect, but when listening to podcasts like The Run-Up, it is commonly stated amongst all Trump supporters as one of their main issues. Should Dems be shouting this message more? Just curious how to combat that question when the weird neighbor says these things.
It is a good question. I think there are a few sort of points to this. I'll take a whack at a couple and then you jump in because I know that you have very strong opinions on this question. So I will first say that there are so many different economic indicators out there that people can tell the story that they want to tell, right? And like it is true that if you lean into different things at different times, then you can try to undercut what the like mainstream narrative is around the economy. I think that Republicans in general benefit from like resting on laurels and a misconception that they are more fiscally responsible and were particularly in the 20th century. And so it's a branding problem in a lot of ways that people just associate Republicans with like fiscal austerity, blah, 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 blah. And then you have like what the current economic indicators say, which the data that we have 100%, Karen is correct. Like, that GDP is up above expectations, that inflation is down, that real wages are up, even after you take inflation into account, that rent has been going down, that mortgage rates have been going down, that like these very real things are like moving in the right direction at a minimum. And many of them are like setting record high stock market. But that's not always what people are basing their understanding or vibes on the economy on.
Sure. And that makes sense because not everyone is invested in the stock market and their 401k isn't going up or the Roth IRA, et cetera. So I do think a lot of it has to come down with how people feel about it at their kitchen table and what the gallon of milk costs that week, et cetera. So it is a branding thing, but it's also making sure that we're messaging and communicating the right audiences about how the administration has created more economic opportunities for them, whether that be in tax cuts or child tax credits or job opportunities with the Inflation Reduction Act. So it's a very difficult thing that every administration has to deal with, which is how do you communicate and message to the people that these policies are impacting so that they understand how that policy is making their lives, in Democrats' cases better. But yeah, it's a messaging thing that I know that 2024 is going to be super, super dense on is the economy. But part of our job here at Vibes Only is to make it less dense and more like, here's what's going on. So keep listening.
So keep listening. Thank you,
Karen. That's my answer. More to come. More to come.
So in addition to the listener questions that we got in, we also have the results of our Spotify poll. Little did you know that when we post episodes, we can post a poll alongside. So when you listen, you can vote on the hot goss of the ep. And so last week we talked about DeSantis very embarrassingly endorsing Donald Trump.
Run.
And the question was why? Like, why kiss the ring?
Why?
And so we
couldn't answer it, so we sent it to the people, to the crowd.
We needed the crowd to weigh in.
Okay, so we have the results.
Yeah, so there were 3 options: 2028, baby. So getting ready for another run, to save face because he's just a generally embarrassing human, or to cover said face with pudding. which is, as we know,
his favorite thing to do, to eat pudding with his fingers.
Majority of respondents said all of the above. It's a pudding face 2028 run. Absolutely. So weigh in. If you listen on Spotify, weigh in on our poll this week. And we'll shout you out next time.
Brian, we have our good vibe of the week before we say goodbye to our lovely audience, which is that Joe Biden, the Biden administration, has paused all DOE, Department of Energy, approvals for new liquefied natural gas.
Pew, pew.
That it's a good thing. We're happy about it in the climate world.
We're happy about it. I did see this news go out on Friday afternoon because that's when the Biden administration loves to release good news.
Oh, like you.
Like me. They love to do it on a Friday afternoon. And it's a big deal to fight climate change and lean in to a greener economy and an energy system that is both domestic and independent and better for our world and our future. So I think that this was a big step. A lot of my climate friends were psyched. And it's a direct response to the work done by climate activists. Like this is something that they've been calling for years of the Biden administration. And boom, there it is.
Not just the Biden administration, for like decades. This is a hat tip to all of the climate organizers and activists who have lobbied this issue for many, many years. So good vibe.
And that's all the vibes for this week. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you reaching out to us. Let's keep the conversations going. Get in touch with us to participate in our group chat. Send us a note, a story, a question, record a message on your phone, whatever you want. Send it to us at vibes@couriernewsroom.com. By now, you know democracy hinges on vibes. So we're going to be here each week to keep checking them. Tune back in, same time, same place.
Vibes Only is a production of Courier, a civic media company that protects and strengthens our democracy through credible, fact-based journalism and seeks to create a more informed, engaged, and representative America. Vibes Only is produced by Devin Maroney with support from Courier's Kyle Tharp, R.C. DeMezzo, and Daniel Strasburger. Tara McGowan is founder and publisher of Courier.